of the Nuka Nation. And I would like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all the First Nation people who might be tuning in. Amateka series is a project that was conceptualized by Rwandan youth currently living in Wajak country, also known as Perth, Australia, as a way for us to connect virtually during the COVID-19 lockdown. And to also encourage ourselves to learn about the different aspects of Rwandan history. So every month we would have virtual connections, and we'll be discussing different topics from pre-colonial Rwanda, colonial Rwanda, and modern day Rwanda. And the overall goal for this project is to strengthen our Rwandan identities through connection and a better understanding of our history and culture. So we're very pleased to be launching this project. So other Rwandan youth and other African youth who might be joining this webinar, and other people joining us in real life as well, can also join us on this journey of relearning. We are so thankful for all of you for tuning into this conversation virtually, and here in Perth we're meeting in person, so thank you, especially all the youth even in places like Melbourne, Kigali, New Zealand, Indonesia, US, everywhere. So just some housekeeping rules. Please be mindful of your mic. To just make things a lot smoother, please just mute yourself if you're not speaking. And if you're logging in, please punch the mute button. So that's the little noise that keeps happening in the background. Cool. So the event today, basically what's going to be happening is that we hope that it's going to give you an insight of what we usually do every month. And as today we're going to be hearing from Rwandan historians, feminists, artists, and much more. Before the virtual history discussion begins, and we also have a very exciting concert at the very end, we'll open the floor to the High Commissioner of Rwanda to Singapore, Australia, and New Zealand, His Excellency Ambassador Jean de Dieu Uwihanganye. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everyone. Hello, young people. Hello, those from New Zealand, those hearing me from Australia, Perth. I know those in Perth, you're meeting in person. So, and I know you have planned very good things even after the webinar. So I'm so glad. I wish I would have been able to be there, but I couldn't. So because of COVID. Anyway, so we'll be together in prayer. So thank you so much for everyone in Perth, those who are meeting physically. Young people from all other cities and states in Australia, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and everyone else joining us, including those in Kigali, other Rwandan young people, let's say from USA. I've seen some from USA, some from Europe. So, and we also have those from other Asian countries, Pacific countries. I know we have some from Timor-Leste, Dili, and we have a group of young people from Indonesia as well. So I wanted to start by saying, all of you, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is supposed to be a platform for young people, but I don't know if I consider myself still young. But all the being young, youth, it's not about just age. It's also about the thinking, the way you behave. So I believe I'm still young, so that's why. But thank you so much for inviting me. I also wanted to thank. I think since it's going to be a Amateka series, I will try to also put in Kinyarwanda. Nagira ngo nshimire ikipe y'urubyiruko rwa Path Rwanda Community Abroad Path n'ahandi muri Australia yateguye uyu mushinga w'ibijyanye n'amateka. Urubyiruko rwinshi muba mu mahanga muri ibi bihugu Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Timor-Leste n'ahandi, hari abavukiye muri ibyo bihugu mu mahanga, those who were born from those countries, hakaba n'abandi bavukiye mu Rwanda cyangwa mu bindi bihugu ariko bakaba batuye muri ibyo. Nubwo mwavukiye muri ibyo bihugu, benshi mukaba mufite wenda ubwenegihugu bw'ibihugu mutuyemo, cyangwa se benshi mukaba mufite ubwenegihugu bw'ibindi bihugu mwaturutsemo, ariko muracyari abanyarwanda ku mutima, muracyari abanyarwanda mu maraso kuko nyine mukomoka mu Rwanda. tubafata nk'abanyarwanda. So byiza rero ni ingenzi kuba ukibyiruka ukiri muto kumenya neza amateka yaho y'igihugu cyawe, amateka y'umuryango wawe. Ni ngombwa yuko urubyiruko rumenya neza uko abanyarwanda bitwaraga mu mico, mu myifatire, mu mitekerereze, mu mikorere, ariko cyane cyane indangagaciro. So icyo twita mu cyongereza values. It's very important to know Rwandan values from all around pre-colonial, colonial, the modern Rwanda, the current Rwanda. What are the values which will differentiate you from you consider yourself a Rwandans? What will make you more proud when you are among others? So I think this is gonna be a good platform for those. Igihugu cyanyu, igihugu cy'u Rwanda kirabakunda, gikunda mwese, tubafata nk'abana b'abanyarwanda, abanyarwanda batuye mu mahanga, imishinga mukora, ibikorwa mukora, turabikunda, tukaba twiyemeje no gukomeza gushyigikira igikorwa nk'iki cy'amateka, amateka series, aho igihe cyose kizakiba tuzakomeza kugishyigikira uko bikwiye. So nagira ngo rero nongere mbashimire, mbifuriza kuza kugira ibiganiro byiza, mukasobanukirwa, mukabanya amateka, mukaganirizwa n'urubyiruko bagenzi banyu, yaba urubyiruko mu myaka ariko abenshi n'urubyiruko no mu mitekerereze, kandi muze no kuryoherwa na konseri ya Iva Buravan, ngira ngo urubyiruko mu mateka harimo n'indirimbo n'imbyino, twizere ko biza kubaryohera. Twebwe rero kuri ambasade y'u Rwanda muri Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia na Singapore, twongeye nyine kubaha ikaze no mu kindi muzakenera n'ibindi, nimushaka no kujya mu Rwanda, nimushaka no gukora n'ibindi, muzamenye ko tubakira kandi tubafata nk'abanyarwanda bacu bafite uruhare rukomeye cyane mu iterambere ry'igihugu. So thank you so much, Linda and everyone else. I hope we have a good webinar.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Wihanganye. We appreciate all your support and encouragement. And also, just to be mindful, so this webinar is actually going to be in Kinyarwanda and English. So for people who don't understand one of the languages, sorry, but you'll be able to sort of gauge what's happening. And I would like to now hand over to our friends in Kigali. And and our moderator Ishimye is there. Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much, Linda. And thank you once again, Ambassador Uwihanganye, for your remarks. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to welcome once again everyone. This is a youth event, so I hope people are excited. It's going to be both a learning opportunity. We have amazing panelists lined up. So I hope you are ready to learn, but also ready to have fun, because that's also part of the program. And as they said, we're using both languages, so English, Kinyarwanda. So if you have a question in Kinyarwanda, if you need something clarified in either of the languages, feel free to use any, because this is a Rwandan event. Ni gahunda yateguwe kandi iyobowe n'Abanyarwanda, so turakoresha indimi zose kugira ngo buri wese yisange kandi ntihagire uwumva hari ibyamucitse. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the panelists that we have lined up. The first speaker is going to be, her name is Hope Azeda. We also have Clotilde, we have Amateka, we have Moses, and all of them, there are people of different ages, different backgrounds, but who, through their lived experience, are going to share with us how Rwandan history, culture, art is influencing their day-to-day work. So yeah, we're going to start with Hope. A little introduction about Hope. So Hope is a 2018 McNulty Prize laureate and one of the leading figures in contemporary Rwandan theater. She's the founder and artistic director of Mashirika Creative and Performing Arts. And Mashika Creative and Performing Arts is a leading theatre company in Rwanda that had plays in Rwanda, Australia, UK, Japan, and many more countries. Hope is also a festival curator at Rwanda's leading art festivals that's called Umono Art Festival. So Hope has a rich experience in bringing Rwandan theater to Rwandans everywhere, but also to the world. So Hope, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Wonderful. Nice to see everyone, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are very delighted to have you here and to learn from your experience. Yes, so to start with the first question, I'm curious to know, and I'm sure many people here are curious as well. Would you know, what did Rwanda storytelling look like in pre-colonial Rwanda? And how were stories passed from generation to generation?
Well, I wouldn't be a historical expert on this note, but I'll try to share what I've tried to make a research on as myself. But in the Rwandan history, when it comes to performance, it was all in oral form, and what I also have learned that most of these stories were told around the fire. And for me, that fire is what has been passed on to generations and generations, because there's always a flame somewhere in our traditions. And that's what I really found really very interesting and very rich. While we who are not born like in Rwanda to understand the Kinyarwanda language, while we went to school to learn poetry, you find that here in the Rwandan history or in the Rwandan traditions, there is an inborn method of telling stories that is so natural that you find that a poet has never been to school, but they can really write a nice, long, nice, beautiful poem, which has all forms of poetry that we have gone to school to study, but this person has never been to school to study poetry. So that means there's the way our tradition was at school. So as people met around the fire, they learned from their elders how different stories about moral values. So for me, that's what I really found very strong. And there was also a lot of performances happening in the King's Palace with different art forms in dance, music, and poetry, of course. So most of it was really centered around oral forms of storytelling.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it sounds like before the age of written history, and also if now we have access to history via different platforms, but before this age, it used to be oral. The elders passing the stories and their history to the younger generation through like in oral means. So I think that's very fascinating. And maybe to ask you personally, how would you say the culture that has been passed down to you informs what you do today?
So what we do today is that my first encounter with how things used to be done before was around 2004 when we were approached at our company by the Ministry of Culture and the Kigali Genocide Memorial. And they came with this sentence. They said, traditionally, well, they wanted us to do a performance for the 10th commemoration of the Rwandan genocide against Tutsi. And I was not one that would look at an expert or even know what used to be done before. So they came to us and said, how mourning has been happening here. People have been sitting around the fire. And for me, saying that line around the fire took me way back, how people used to sit around the fire telling stories. So now, because of how things have changed, how people used to tell their testimonies of what happened in 1994, still people would sit around the fire and tell their testimonies. So for me, that was my first time to say, okay, we need a fire in our performances. We need to sit around the fire, and that should be our setting. So that for me kicked off our performance called Africa's Hope, that has been all over the world, but also has that element of the Rwandan tradition. We start with the young actor narrating every year in the month of April, we sit around the fire and remember the innocent lives that were lost. So already you see, in a way, we are taking this way back. There is a thread coming through with this flame, but which same flame comes with the unfading flame that is at Kigali Genocide Memorial. So for me, that fire has been a great inspiration in different forms of art we've been using. For instance, like last year, we did another production called Generation 25, and we had a fire. So there's something with fire. So even this year, our opening anthem starts with an old woman making a fire traditionally, and a young girl picks that fire with a candle, and that song is called Flames of Hope. So for us, Flames of Hope has been that light that has guided us, and it's been like a spirit that walks with that in us as Rwandans, we have a strong spirit that whatever may happen, there's that flame in us, regardless of all the colonial systems we've gone through, that it comes on board in how it always influences us or inspires us to ignite a flame for everyone else. But apart from what we've been doing as me as Hope, you also realize that other artists that came back after the war, back to the country, or returned after the 1994 history, you find that everyone brought what they had been studying in their following countries. Like for instance, Hope came from Uganda. Uganda was a British colony. So Hope brought Greek methods, brought all these methodologies back to Rwanda. So someone who came from Belgium also brought different elements. So we all brought different things back home, and you find that all those things, when you watch my performances, you trace a bit of Auguste Boal, the Forum Theatre, which is very close also to the Rwandan traditional way of telling stories, then the Greek theatre method of telling stories. So we brought what we picked from other countries back to this country. So it is very contemporary kind of approaches.
Okay. I really like how you have this emphasis on, the fire, something that can be actually replicated in so many places. You don't have to be physically in Rwanda to actually carry on that tradition. You can light a fire in Perth, Australia, and wherever you are, and kind of use it as a symbol to gather around, and an element that's important in your culture. So that's very good. And I also like the element of, the culture evolving, as people bring different elements that they've taken from different places, and you add them to the contemporary culture that we have now. So the merging of the new and the old. But then how, as an artist, what you see is your role in preserving the elements of, the Rwandan culture, so that, as it evolves and as other things come in, we don't lose the originality of, our traditions.
Yeah, so we have. It's very important to stand out unique in this world as well. So to stand out unique, you need an identity. To have an identity, you need to know where you're coming from, and to know where you're coming from, that is the information is passed on to this generation. So I ask myself, is there enough information also being passed on, or are we overwhelmed by what is coming on board, especially things like technology? How are we even embracing technology, sticking to our ties to our cultures? And also the other thing that always we find ourselves asking ourselves is, what is the definition of culture? So we try, the only way you can win out there as an individual is to have a place where you belong. And a place where you belong can come through your music, through your clothing, through how you do your art, with different art forms. So what we do, like in our space of performance, we're like, okay, so we have an English song to create. Or maybe let me give you this example of when we're having a clash between culture and modern things. Sometimes it's important to also pay attention to how it is not as easy to stick to your culture as it may be, as it may sound, but yet it seems important. So here is a situation. You're being asked to create a performance around genocide, and then you find that genocide is not our culture. But our Rwandan music and dance portrays one theme. It portrays beauty, it portrays joy, it portrays celebration. So if I'm going to do a dance theater piece about this particular subject, none of the cow movements, none of the smile, none of that will apply because of the story at hand. So I remember when we were trying to look for how do we, if we cannot sing or speak, some words are very, some moments in this kind of stories, you run out of words, and what you can't sing, you can dance. So now that we need to dance this moment, what kind of dance do we dance? Traditionally or culturally, there's nothing like that. So what kind of other tools can we use from the other cultures to see how we tell this story? So for instance, you come across a testimony that says, let me just come up with the line, once when I was being chased. That line, how do you perform it on our Rwandan traditional dance? Once you start doing this, it never shows the mood and the fear and the anxiety the person that was being chased goes through. So what do? In that case, we go to Auguste Bowaru methods of performance, which is originally from Brazil. And you tap into images. What kind of images come to your head when you hear the line, once when I was being chased? It is those images we try to bring life to that will not look like Rwandan dance, but it is a movement. So people say, and Bakatu, let me speak a bit of Kinyarwanda because I've been approached by really like traditional experts who are very like guardians of our culture. And they're like, ariko mashirika ubu ngubu ni biki murimo kubyina? Ndavuga muri uretse uze kumva imbyino cyangwa wumva ibivugwa n'izi movement utubwire how this is working out for you. But when they come, they understand the essence and the reason why we go off a bit from our traditional dance to this kind of movement. It is because we can't say this or we can't sing this, but we can only use our bodies to communicate it. So we are very conscious about our culture, and we try to tap on the songs and the movements at that time because that's what makes us unique. But sometimes you're faced with challenges to try and borrow from other forms of art.
Yeah, that was very fascinating to me. I've never thought about it that way. I think similarly to the elders and those guardians of our culture, the tendency can be, let's stick to what has always been done, but the time sometimes call for something new. Let's say if you want to express a mood that's sad or somber, and it's not something that we've created. So done actually, with Masharika, I feel like you are, as we grow as a country, as we evolve, as new things that are affecting the rest of the world also come to us, artists are the people who actually continue to create other elements of culture maybe were not existing in the past.
We have a beautiful culture, but sometimes when you want to explore more emotions, different emotions, you find that we are also limited. But again, how do you do? So you again, in a way, find a way to stick to your story. You do that movement, but maybe you add a tune or a vocal tune that accompanies emotionally, because we have a lot of nice emotional music that accompanies the other movement. And that way you've tried to stick to the Rwandan roots, at the same time, the other foot is on the other side of the world.
Okay, thank you. Could you please give us examples of a play that you've developed and played before here, and also a play that you have brought on the international stage?
Okay, so we have two performances that are really going out there to the world. So Africa's Hope is one performance that has been on the road for as long as I've known, like almost, it's coming to 20 years, because this was our first theater production. And again, being introduced to stadiums, to do performances in stadiums has also, to be honest, let me first explain this. Rwanda has been a home that has always looked forward coming to, but I've also found Rwanda to be a school. I've learned so much from this country because there's a methodology of performance that we have just created out of the kind of environment we are in that is not even in books in schools. So you find those kind of performances like Africa's Hope. It's like a broken mirror that is stitched together. So Africa's Hope is basically questions the fact that what happens to a human being, because nobody is born evil, we learn to hate. You know, what it addresses the issue of when hate is enthroned in our hearts, and when it rules over and comes out, you can get unimaginable happenings like what happened in our country. So Africa's Hope is one performance that we started off with at the stadium in 2004, and later on it was invited to the G8 Summit in Edinburgh. Then it was in UK for over, I don't know, 6 years, always going back and forth. Then it was in LA, and it has been to Cape Town. Last year it was in Cape Town and Poland. But this year, the production that is going out now is called Generation 25. Generation 25 is a production that focuses on the youth or young people born after the Rwandan genocide against Tutsi. We have a youth that was born last year, a cohort of young people that found themselves not part of the past, but they have to move to the future and have so many questions that have not been answered. So most of our productions are testimonial, but again, they create that space to open very difficult conversations, but also opens a safe space for also healing and also connecting people in different ways. So those are the kind of productions I really think, like Junction 25 is already going on the road. It's supposed to be on the road this year, but COVID stopped it. So those are the kind of international / local productions that we have.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much, Hope. Do you have any comments you would like to share with the audience as they close? And maybe as we close this, part, and maybe as you share your heart with them, could you let us know where can we find you? Because as you were speaking, I was like, this is very interesting. I need to check out Mashirika and your performances a bit more. But showing up at a theater isn't always possible. And in this particular case, with people in different countries of the world, it's not always possible to show up at a theater. So how can we find your performances? How can we learn from your work?
So we are all on all social media platforms. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, and on Facebook. Both we have the Ubumun Arts Festival. If people just type that, they will find everything around it. And then mashirika.com, ubumunartsfestival.com as well. So we are everywhere on those platforms. But like this year, we did a virtual festival, and we had several countries. I wish I had met this group before. We would have created something like this and curated it in. I would love to stay in touch with the organizers. I would love to stay in touch in ways there's different ways. We do a lot of youth exchange programs across the globe. I would love to bring them on board, or we need to work together. Right now, this time in this world where the world is just a small globe, a small village, we need to work together. So we are very open to collaborations, and now that we don't even have to travel a lot, it will be very easy online. We can do theater workshops, we can do writing workshops. If they need us, we are there open. We are here to share whatever we can. Because we believe the spaces we've created are congregational spaces. They are more like a church. So we've created a church where you walk in and out with knowledge and basically to learn and share. And that's all we do, learn and share.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This was very insightful. I've seen some comments and even a few questions in the chat. I think we're going to get to them, afterwards. But yeah, I've taken out a few things, and I hope the audience has as well. Knowing the role of art and the artists in carrying forward the culture that we receive from our elders, but at the same time, as things happen and times change and new things happen, artists actually have a key role in making sure that they create for us new traditions that we can also carry forward. So thank you very much, Hope.
Most welcome.
Yes. So our second speaker is Madame Umubyeyi Clotilde. Good morning, Umubyeyi Clotilde. I don't know if she's ready, but I'll be introducing her in the meantime. So Umubyeyi Clotilde is a member of the Rwandan Elders Advisory Forum, and she has worked with the Institute of National Museums of Rwanda and other institutions that preserve Rwanda's culture and history. She's very active in the Rwandan community, and she continues to share her knowledge with young Rwandans through various youth programs and more. So we are very delighted to have Madame Umubyeyi Clotilde. Good morning.
nk'uko mubivuze nitwa umubyeyi Clotilde
Yego.
ndi umubyeyi z'umuco w'ikinyarwanda mwabitindaho.
Yego murakoze, turabakiriye nanone. Ikibazo cya mbere nabaza kuri pano cyangwa se no kuri no webex dufiteho abantu batandukanye bari mu bihugu bitandukanye, bamwe ni bato cyane nibwo barimo kwiga umuco nyarwanda. Ikibazo cya mbere twakubaza, ese watubwira mu mateka ni ibihe bintu byajyaga bizana abatoya ndetse n'abakuru hamwe kugira ngo abakuru bigishe abatoya?
Navuga nko mu bitaramo by'abanyarwanda kenshi mu mugoroba bakikutsa imirimo niho bagiriraga akanya ko kubonana. Ababyeyi bakabwira abana amateka y'umuryango wabo, amateka y'igihugu n'ubundi bumenyi rusange bwo mu gihugu. Babimenyeraga mu biganiro bagirana mu bitaramo, kuko niho ababyeyi bahuriraga n'abana ndetse n'abandi bose igenda bagirana mu kigero.
Ese ari ababyeyi n'abana babo cyangwa yabaga ari nk'umuryango mugari wahuye kugira ngo abakuru bigisha abatoya, cyangwa byakorerwaga mu miryango mitoya?
Cyatenyereraga mu muryango muto kuko niho abana n'ababyeyi babo baganiriraga bihagije, ariko bagira no mu muryango mugari. Kera nk'abana umubyeyi yagiraga abana yabaga afite ihirwe afite nabo babyeyi, kenshi abana bahuriraga nk'ukwa sekuru, bikabavamo ko bamenyana, bakamenyana mu muryango munini wabo, bakamenya n'amateka yabo.
Muri iki gihe urabona ko hariho iterambere, navuga ko urubyiruko ndetse n'abantu bose muri rusange dufite umuco wacu, ariko hari n'ibindi bigenda bituruka hanze, ibintu tugenda twigira ku yindi mico. Ese ni nk'iyihe nama wagira urubyiruko kugira ngo bakomeze kumenya umuco wabo n'aho baba bari mu bihugu wenda bindi hatari mu Rwanda? Ese ni gute umuntu yakomeza kwiga ndetse no gukomera ku mutwe no mu gihe ari ahandi?
Muri iki gihe koko biraruhije, ubuzima bwarahindutse, ariko birazwi ko iteka ibihe bidasa, umuco n'ibihe bigenda bihinduka, ari nako n'ubuzima bw'abantu bujyana n'ibyo bihe. Abazi rero akamaro k'umuco w'u Rwanda bagerageza kwishakaho, ni nako umuco ubitwigisha, kwishakaho igifite akamaro utata nubwo ugendana n'igihe kigezweho. Twumvise akamaro k'ibyo biganiro by'abagabo hagati y'abana n'ababyeyi, byatumaga bamenya amateka y'umuryango wabo, bigatuma bamenya isano, bakamenya uko umuryango ungana, bikabatera kumenyana, gukundana no kuzafashanya. ku mateka y'igihugu iyo bayaganiragaho byabagamo imigani ibabwira iganisha ku kintu cyiza mu burere bashaka guha abana, hakabamo ndetse n'ibiganiro bireba nko ku mateka, bigatuma abana bakura bumva abantu bagiye baba ingirakamaro mu gihugu, bagira ubutwari. Iyo wumvise nk'abana bumva ngo ugeze iwa Ndabaga, babaza uwo Ndabaga uwo ari we, bumva bati hari umuntu Gihana wigeze gutanga ubuzima bwe busore aza kwitangira igihugu ngo apfe, ariko bigirira igihugu akamaro. Umwana iyo yumva bene izo nkuru akura nawe niho ubutwari buturuka, akura yumva ashaka kuzigana abo bantu, yumva nawe ashaka kuzatwara nkabo. Ibyo bikagenda biri mu bunyarwanda mu mutima w'umuntu. Ababyeyi nabo rero nubwo bazigirijwe n'igihe kirimo ubuzima budasanzwe, ariko niba ubwabo bakwishakaho uburyo icyo kintu kitacika, urebye akamaro cyari gifite mu banyarwanda, kubagirira akanya kukishakaho. Kenshi nko muri za weekend usanga umubyeyi avuga ati niko kanya mbonye ko kureba isuku y'inzu, gushyira ibintu mu buryo. Ariko ibintu ni ibintu, abana n'abana, kuko ntagarukira ku bintu gusa, atarebye uburere bw'abana aratigiye.
Ikindi numva mfitiye amatsiko kandi nkeka ko n'abadukurikiye nabo bafitiye amatsiko, ese ni hehe umuntu yakwigira amateka? Wavuze ku kamaro k'ababyeyi mu kwigisha abana babo. Hope nawe kare yatubwiraga mu mirimo akora, mu bintu bitandukanye, ukuntu umuntu ashobora kwigira umuco mu byo bakora. Watubwira ahantu twakwigira amateka? Ese ni muri za mize? Ukaduhereza ingero zitandukanye kugira ngo umuntu avuge ati niba mvuye muri kino kiganiro niyemeje kwiga amateka n'umuco, ni hehe nabisanga?
Umwana ntashobora kwibwiriza kumva ngo mize imaze iki, iki n'iki. Ni ibintu yumve. Ni umwana umuco n'amatwara abikura ku ibere akiri muto, nuko aba yarabyumvise. Wenda nubwo ababyeyi b'uyu munsi badafite umwanya uhagije, ndetse hariho n'abatagize ihirwe ryo kurerwa muri ubwo buryo, nabo bagomba kubyiga. Ariko ibyo ari byo byose, amagambo make, akanya ko kuganira n'umwana uko bimukundisha, uwo mwana azakura abishakisha. Ubu noneho dufite n'ihirwe ryo kugira leta ishaka kugarura umuco mu banyarwanda, ishaka kugarura ubunyarwanda n'umuco utanga umurongo abanyarwanda bagenderaho mu mibereho no mu mibanire yabo, ndetse no mu mibereho y'igihugu. Ibyo rero dufite minisiteri y'umuco ishamikiweho n'amashami menshi, arimo aho wakura kumenya amateka y'u Rwanda no kurukunda. N'ibiganiro nk'ibi ni byiza kubitegura, bigiye binaba byinshi, byagira icyo bibwira abana. Ubu noneho hariho n'itorero ry'igihugu, aho hose ni ahantu umwana agenda akuramo ubumenyi bwo kumenya u Rwanda no kurukunda no kwiyumvamo ubunyarwanda.
Yego, murakoze. Kugira ngo abadukurikiye mwabyumvishe, hari ahantu henshi umuntu ashobora kwigira umuco. Yego, iyo umuntu akiri mutoya cyane, inshingano nyinshi ziba ziri ku mubyeyi kugira ngo umubyeyi yigishe umwana umuco ndetse n'amateka azi. Ariko nk'uko umubyeyi Clotilde abitubwiye, hari ahandi hantu henshi ushobora kwigira. Hariho itorero ry'igihugu, aho twigira indangagaciro z'igihugu, n'icyo bivuze kuba umunyarwanda aho waba uri hose ku isi. Hari ahantu henshi umuntu ashobora kwigira umuco, kugira ngo kuko hari igihe kizagera akaba ari twebwe abantu batoya natwe turimo kwigisha abandi bazadukomokaho iby'umuco nyarwanda. Ni ingenzi rero ko tubyiga tukabimenya kandi tukanabikunda. Izi gahunda Amateka series ni igitekerezo cyiza, kugira ngo dukomeze twige kandi dusobanukirwe. Clotilde, wavuga ko ni izihe, niba nabyita impano, cyangwa inama kuri uyu munsi wahereza abantu bagera kuri 75 badukurikiye kuri uyu munsi bari ahantu henshi hatandukanye zijyanye no gukunda igihugu, gukunda umuco, ni izihe mpanuro wababwira ubwo bafite amahirwe yo kuba bari kumwe n'umuntu mukuru?
Impanuro nabaha cyane cyane ni ukumenya akamaro k'umuco w'igihugu, kuko ubu koroni tutarategekwa n'abanyamahanga twagenderaga ku muco w'u Rwanda uturuka mu ruhererekane rw'uburezi bw'abakurambere. Ibyo bintu byatwigishije uburyo twubaka igihugu mu buryo bumwe tugendeye ku nyungu rusange rw'igihugu, gufashanya, gutabarana, gusangira no kugenda twungura igihugu. Ibyo bintu abanyarwanda babibayemo igihe kirekire bayobowe n'umuco kandi udahagarara, ujyana n'igihe. Ye twakomwe mu nkokora n'abakoloni, ariko ibyo ntitwabibara, byaratambutse. Uyu munsi twareba ko ntabwo ushobora kugendera ku bintu by'ahandi bidafite umuzi ngo bigire icyo bikugezaho. Twamenya kugendana n'igihe, ariko dufite ishingiro ry'ubuzima bunyarwanda duhagazeho, tukagenda twunguka, ariko ibyo twunguka bifite icyo bihagazeho. Ntabwo wageraho utagendera ku ndangagaciro y'ubwangamugayo, udahemuka, kuba intwari, kumenya kugendana n'igihe, kumenya kwigira, kumenya kuba wakunda igihugu mbere inyungu z'igihugu kurusha izawe bwite, kuko udafite igihugu yitwa imfubyi, kandi ubupfubyi bw'igihugu nta wundi uburera. Ababyeyi bari bakwiye kumenya akamaro k'umuco w'u Rwanda, bakawuvugurura ariko batawutaye.
Yego, murakoze cyane. Udafite igihugu yitwa imfubyi. Dufite igihugu kandi dukunda, ni ngombwa kugira ngo dukomeze dusigasire umuco navuga wihariye dufite. I'm going to try and summarize what Madame Clotilde was saying for those who do not speak Kinyarwanda. So we talked about different avenues, through which in the past people used to learn culture in different ways. Culture and traditions were passed down to different generations. And I think it was kind of similar to what Hope had mentioned. It was through community gatherings. Usually it would start on a family level, but also expand to even community. There will be what they call ibitaramo, where people used to meet and learn, and that's how young people would learn about their culture. She also talked about how even today, as people live, much busier lives, and as we have, the world is evolving and changing. That it's important for parents primarily, but also other people to make time to learn about culture and make sure that as new generations come, it's something that people take the responsibility to learn and also pass down. She also talked about how we used to have culture and strong values even before colonial times. We had the values that we used to carry forward as a nation, values that informed how we live together in communities, how we approach social matters. And even though, colonialism happened, unfortunately, but she said it's not something we can continue to focus on and, put our emphasis, but that it's important to take those values that have been a thread throughout our history and carry them forward, because it's something rich that we've always had as a people. So I hope you check it out. She also shared a few resources regarding how you can learn about Rwandan culture. The government has actually tried very hard so that there is a platform for every young person in Rwanda to actually learn about their culture. She shared, Itorero ry'igihugu, which is a platform where many young people, usually late teens after graduation of high school, you go through Itorero ry'igihugu to learn. This is where they bring historians and different kinds of people to learn about Rwanda's history, so that as we kind of go forward into adulthood, we have that foundation. So yeah, those who happen, and that platform actually exists even for those in the diaspora if you happen to be back in Rwanda. So yeah, thank you very much, Madame Clotilde. Mwakoze cyane. Turabashimiye rwose. Kugira umuntu ufite ubumenyi nk'ubwawe ahantu nk'aha ngaha ni ibintu by'igiciro gikomeye. Mwakoze, turabashimiye.
cyane nawe.
Okay, so we have, I've seen some comments. Giramata said, Itorero is an excellent place to learn about culture. I can attest. The young people in Itorero are walking and breathing museums. I had the privilege in many ways to learn from them. So that's very good. We have someone who has actually benefited from Itorero Gigihugu testifying. So thank you very much. We're going to have a short break. But it's not break, it's break from panelists. But we are going to invite Yvonne Buravan, that I'm very sure people are excited to meet and see. People have been a fan for a while. So Yvonne, are you here?
I'm here, thank you very much.
Yeah, the floor is yours. You can share with us what you have for us cooking.
I mean, I have a lot, and I've been preparing a small piece of art for you guys. And yeah, I would say
I think your mic might be muted. I can't hear you. It's muted now. Okay, it's on now.
it's on.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Thank you very much. I was saying thanks, guys, for having me. And I've been preparing a small piece of art for you guys, and I think you will love it. But apart from that, I would say this initiative is very great because we deserve to know our history, culture, and everything that has to do with our culture as the youth, because that's what inspires us to do whatever we do with the spirit and philosophy of being a Rwandan. So yeah, that's what I would say, and to
Okay.
incite you about what we are about to have. I don't know. Garagaza kumunda,
Nice.
execute what you say. Vane mu magambo bishyire mu bikorwa. Niba koko nkunda. Yeah.
Yay! Thank you very much. Beautiful voice. I cannot wait for your performance later on. Nice haircut too. I'm assuming, is that Amasunzu or not quite?
That's me being a modern, I mean, a
Oh, your
modern
mic is.
youth, but with Rwandan roots. My head, you know.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, for those who
Thank
might
you
not.
very much.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say, for those who might not know, the Amasunzu hairstyle is an old style, even though I can't say it's quite what you have, but I can see that you try to imitate that. So thank you very much, Yvonne. We cannot wait for your performance later on.
And not forgetting to mention the chains too.
There you go. Can you please tell us more about it?
So this is worn by Inore when they're dancing.
Okay.
But as you can see, it's very, very good looking when you put it on a smart attire.
Exactly. Exactly. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So back to our audience before we go to the panelists that we have remaining. I want to take a poll. So people in the audience, please give me a thumbs up if things are going well. Are you learning? We have the comment section, so we can use it to quickly gauge how the audience is doing before we move on. Yes, this is great. Loving it. Let's go. How's it going? Okay. Okay, thanks for the feedback. Okay, good stuff so far. Good. So people are loving it. I'm personally learning a lot, and I hope people are learning as much as I can, as much as they can as well. So we are going to transition to other speakers that we have today. So our next speaker is a young Rwandan poet and feminist, and also a community organizer who's currently completing her PhD in gender and women's studies. She's also the founder of Sister Circle Collective, a grassroots feminist organization that has recently opened Rwanda's very first only Black women and Black feminist library that's called Kamaliza Reads. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Jiramata.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Jiramata. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good to have you here.
Good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've really been learning a lot from the previous speakers, and I'm very excited to share as well and to hear from even some of the other young people with questions and more additions. This is an excellent platform, so I'm looking forward to everything that's going to happen.
Okay. Yes, congratulations on opening the library. That's very impressive.
Oh, thank you, thank you. That's one of the biggest labor of loves for the community. I think both the speakers who went before have talked about essentially loving the community, and I feel like loving culture and loving community can look very different ways. And part of it is putting our skills and our passions to use and giving something back for people to have access to different resources. So I'm really happy to be able to be a part of such a project that gives young people a space to go and literally be able to read as many African women writers, as many Caribbean women writers, speaking about different types of things, about culture, autobiographies, about different professionals, and also showing that we are existing in different spaces and we're doing the work in different spaces, and we're
Yes.
creating the knowledge for it, and these women deserve to be read and to be heard. If you're an economist, there's a Black economist somewhere. We have so many here in Rwanda, myself included.
Nice.
But we have real estate agents, we have different kinds of people in different spaces in the world, and the library is literally there for as a resource for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think one of the questions that I asked one of the speakers, before you was, where do you find these resources, right? It's one thing to have an interest, but it's another thing to actually find a place to get factual information about, whatever it is that you're trying to learn. So I believe Kamaliza Reed is a piece in that endeavor, if I can put it that way. So Great. So if I can go directly to the questions. So Rwanda, like all African countries, is a country home to incredible women whose work paved the way for us. Can you please share with us examples of women from Rwanda's history that would say have paved the way for you, but also inspired you?
That is an excellent question. Because I feel like everything that I am has been a product of home and the women here. Be it women in my family, my mother, my grandmother, my aunties. I have so many women in my life, and each one of them speaking to the fact that oral history plays a really important role in how we raise young women like myself. Having conversations with them has really shaped the kind of um, the kind of person I've become. But more generally, when we live outside the family, I would like to recognize this year we had an excellent way of celebrating liberation
Okay.
with young women like Samantha Teta, who curated a week-long type of uh, how would we call it? Kind of recognition and honoring of the women that were part of the liberation movement. We were able to highlight women like Aloysia Inyumba, the late Aloysia Inyumba. We were able to learn more about Joyce Ndera, Dafros Inara Mirgwa, um, some of the women when we go into the museum, whether it's the museum of liberation or we are going to all these other museums, we see a popular image of a woman with a child, and we like to, that's something that's good to see, to recognize that she's there, but rarely are we able to push a little farther and be like, who was she? What did she do? How did she get there? And this liberation this year, curated by young women like myself, we were able to understand more about the different roles that these three women were able to have and how involved they were. I would say a few other women in history. I feel like this is very popular for young Rwandans, is Ndawaga. I like the legacy of Ndawaga and the kind of person that she is. The legend changes over time. I like to say that depending on the person that you're talking to, you will add more sauce, nurusenda, just to kind of make sense of things, because it's an excellent way to encourage people to, especially young girls, to always, go for what they feel like they're capable of, to understand that they can do anything that they put their minds to, as much as life can be difficult, of course, like all the other things in life, but we are able to overcome that. And I enjoy thoroughly the meanings of also her being called Intore Ndabaga, as we aren't very familiar with more so many stories that attach Intore to women. So that is one of my favorite legends as well. And as a poet, abasizi mu Rwanda b'abakobwa, abagore, I mean, can't really say abagore, because as soon as you become a mother, that's a different layer in history. But I would say Nyiramagunga as well, the founder of poetry, basically, who was also a woman, and the different ways that her story as well kind of is a story of challenging the challenging norms, challenging what we say a young Rwandan person, a young Rwandan woman should look like, but historically was able to push the boundaries and create something that's beautiful, that's embedded even in our storytelling. When you talk to your mother, when you talk to your sister, this kind of poetic way that we speak to each other, that's embedded even in our language, Mukinyarwanda. I feel like a lot of the times when I'm speaking with my friends who are maybe semi-fluent in Kinyarwanda, they're like, oh, it's such an excellent language. There's some sort of ambiance to it, right? And I think that also comes to attest to the poetic nature of the language. I think that would be a couple of women in history that both fiction-wise, the legends, but also uh, um, women who have lived. As we move farther from 94, I would probably say I would be interested in learning more, which I'm also doing my research. Everything is really about, you know, going forward and trying to find this information. But for example, women who were involved, there's a lot of people who were involved in in fighting for land ownership for Rwandan women, especially after the genocide. And there were women who were part of that team that I think have a lot to say, and why this is something that they embarked on for many years, as far as I've read, in order for a young Rwandan woman to be able to own a house, to own land, to build that house on that land without having an attachment to a husband, an uncle, or a brother. This is something that took many years. And women such as the director of like Gender Monitor Office was one of them. And I think this is, she would be an excellent tool to be able to learn from in those perspectives. Women who took part in the first gachacha courts, creating it and also having it function. I think those are women that we could learn from in terms of, you know, what does reconciliation and transformative justice look like, especially in a world that we're living in today with the kinds of things that are going on globally. So those are some of the people that I think I look up to. I have a long list. There's so much to admire from Rwandan women, truly, in a way, whether it's through the work that they do, that they have done as well. There's no way you cannot find a whole book list of women to say that have inspired the kind of work the kind of woman that I've become and the kind of work that I do as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I just learned so much by just asking you one question. And I feel like, yes, throughout history, you know, I think you went far to like further history to even much more recent history. Like, you know, from time immemorial to today, we can find women, Rwandan women, who were doing amazing things, fighting the odds at times to leave a mark, to contribute to their society. So yeah, I just learned so much, and I like how you kind of gave examples from different times. Even today, you know, we have living women that we can look up to and learn from. So why would you say it's important for young people to learn about these women and honor their legacies?
I think it's always important to look back at history, to learn about our ancestors and the work that they did, because you can only move forward knowing where to start from. Otherwise, you're always going to be starting from ground zero. You're always going to be trying to build a foundation when you could be I don't know, at some level of the house and maybe even moving into the house. So I think learning about these women, especially on my side, has been able to give me strength to continue, to affirm myself, to continue to do the kind of work that I do. being able to say, okay, these women did this at this time when it was maybe impossible or very difficult, means, guess what? Nothing really much has changed about life. It's still hard. Some things seem impossible, but you too can be some sort of pillar that you can continue to build from. I think it's important to learn about them because it also gives us pride. If we aren't able to learn about history and these women, we're not able to see ourselves. It's important always for people to see themselves in history. You can talk as much as we want about the past, but if you're not connecting, especially with young people, where they see themselves, where they're like, oh, this person, they're doing something that I would love to do, or they're doing something that I'm passionate about, it becomes very detached. It's important for us to be able to acknowledge that, you know, there were women in Rwandan history. I remember thinking back about how we talk about, for example, the kingdoms, the kings, and royalty in general. We know so much about the kings of Rwanda, and then very, very little about the queens and queen mothers. Of course, there is available knowledges, right? That a lot of us are able to know, but how much can we gauge from that? How much can we attain from that that is able to build up a person like who is maybe under, and her politics of refusal. Um, we know the story about, you know, her refusing to undress, and how important it is for the culture to be able to reference that. But pushing that boundary, how much more can she tell us also about the king? You know, being a second wife. There's some unspoken thing that goes there that we don't really want to talk about, but that's also important for example, reproductive rights of people who are interested in global health, right? That story in itself is something, if you dig further, can show you the different ways that we can destigmatize some of the health issues that we have in our community here. So I think learning about the women in our past, for example, also look at Kamaliza Reeds, right? It's an honoring of Kamaliza herself, an excellent musician, an artist, but also a theory and knowledge producer in the Rwandan community. The songs that she made for us that we still have today, long after she's gone, are inspiring young people like myself, or young people who are working with Sister Circle Collective, to be like, oh, you know what? There are different ways of knowing. There are different ways of producing knowledge. It can be done through song. It can be done through art, paintings. It can be done through theater. All of these things are ways that we produce knowledge, and all of these ways are ways that Kamaliza used in her art to be able to communicate to us about liberation, about life in Rwanda, about herself, and that has lived on past herself in life, so transcending time. So if we're learning about these women in the past also helps us to tap into that, the ways that we can create legacies and create work that lives beyond us, so that the person that the young I have a 10-year-old sister. Once I'm tired and done, this is like, there's like 15-year age difference. Once I'm tired and everything, she should be able to build off of what I've done, right? And we're only able to do that if we can, again, learn from our past, the women whose legacies have transcended time and fields, and be able to do the same thing for our country, for our sisters, and for the women in our community, so that everything is always evolving, is always growing, and we're not just simply starting from scratch, but building off of each other.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So it reminds me of, the saying that we build or we stand on the shoulders of giants, and you don't have to just stand alone when you can stand on the shoulders of the women that have come before us. Thank you for mentioning those names. Some people in the comments are asking if you can share the different names that you've mentioned as you were speaking so that they go and actually find out who are these women, how can we learn about them. I think that's important as well. Um, Maybe to end this section, I'm curious, how you personally, as a young person, how did you learn about this? Like, is it just pure curiosity that you have? How do you get other young people to be interested in actually learning about this, especially we live in the age of competing information. I have so much that I can learn and read about. So how do you personally learn, and how can you encourage young people to actually learn and be interested in this?
Yeah, I think most of it has come from like a personal interest. I loved the two speakers, Hope and the old lady Umubjeyi, um, uh, because they spoke about the evolving ways of culture, right? Um, we're big, especially as young people. We always have a love difficult relationship with culture because of the ways that it's changing or it's evolving. And I'm the kind of person who likes to have a reason for doing things, a reason for believing in something. And if I'm going to be challenged or if I'm going to be asked why, I want to be able to explain. And I think that kind of person that I am has caused me to like go to different places, museums. I visit museums in Rwanda. Even though I've been there like many times, I'll go back again to refresh my memory. I'm a very pushy person with the women in my life, so I will demand that they tell me stories, because I also think I have a right to certain stories that they're able to share with me, because maybe they contain messages about who I am or what I'm able to do. So talking a lot to the elders in my community has helped a lot. I've had the opportunity to work with different people in Rwanda who are, when I say walking and breathing museums, I actually mean that I had an opportunity last year for Liberation to perform with Uruchereza, and I spend a lot of time with the young people in Uruchereza, and as well as Masamba and and the other elders in Uruchereza. And I remember just being there and learning so much because the young people there who are maybe 25, 28 have been in Hore for almost since they were 5 years old. And it's not something that they they have just been like, this a job. It's something they were born into. Like maybe their mothers were musicians or their dads were also in Hore, and it's something that they have inherited, and they have a lot of knowledge about that, about the culture, about, I learned a lot about my name, Giramata, and the different ways that Amata is referenced in Rwandan culture through just speaking to these young people that are in Iruchereza. So I think even that in itself, pushing myself to be in community with people who love the culture, who want to learn more and who want to educate others as well, has really helped. And trying to find as many books. Unfortunately, I don't speak proper French, but I try to look for English ones.
Okay.
If you can find the books in Kinyarwanda or in English translated, that also helps. But I think the most that I could probably encourage everyone to do is to start with the direct community that you have. So your parents and the community that you're living in. And I encourage everyone to do that, to learn more about, who you are and your culture, again, because um, it's really the foundation. It's going to give you a lot of strength on standing firm on the things that you are doing. It literally cements you. There's a lot that Rwandan culture has to offer, to us and to younger people. Yeah, and young people like Ivan Buravan who are trying to tap into the different ways that that culture can be modernized and look appealing to others. I think that's also an excellent way to encourage young people to, you see him with a hairstyle that's like that, then you become inquisitive. So maybe presenting little avenues, spaces where people can start to question, oh, what is that? Oh, you are dressed like that, and I see patterns that look like imigongo. We start to talk about motions, and we can start to even start to inquire, Esuundi migongo ni iki? Where does it come from? Who makes it? What does it have meaning? So always being inquisitive, even in the smallest sense, in how you dress, in how you speak, in what you see. Everything has some sort of attribute to culture, and if you can start to question small, it will get you a long way.
Yeah, thank you very much. There's quite a lot of comments about what you shared, so thank you very much. Someone said that's why they always ask their mom so many questions. And actually, I think from Giramata's intervention, we can give people homework to go home and either ask your parents if you have them or live with them,
or guardians,
aunties or guardians, whoever is much older than you. You can ask them a question about, how they grew up, what did they do, they participate in dance and song, or what did they learn from their parents. I think I like that you shared that we can tap into the community that we already have around us. So I have my own homework as well. So thank you very much, Giramata. We are going to, you're welcome. We're going to invite our next speaker. Moses, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Hi everyone.
Hi, good morning. I'm going to do a small introduction of Moses. So Moses Turahirwa is the founder of a culturally inspired luxury clothing brand called Motions. Motions continues to be an outstanding luxury brand in Rwanda and across the world. The brand has been showcased in many countries such as Senegal, Uganda, Nigeria, France, and many more. And we've actually noticed different artists and celebrities wearing Motions, like Juti Gatwa, musicians like Jidena. And more recently, Motions was awarded the Made in Rwanda Emerging Enterprise of the Year award. And it has also been featured on Beyonce's Black Parade website. So you're already making strides, Motions. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, and I'm glad to be here. Very delighted to be with you all.
I was like, I need to represent.
I know, I love a kimono. I saw you and I was like, I see people representing already. I'm always happy to see you supporting what we do, really. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Your clothing is luxurious, as you said, but also the quality is very good, and I like that it has a cultural touch to it. So it's very brilliant.
Thank you.
So could you please share with us the different aspects of Rwandan history and art that have been sources of inspiration for you?
Yes, thank you, Ishimie. I think Motions is basically rooting from the cultural aesthetics, motifs, and different inspirations that ranges from the culture, as you said. So we try to fuse the modernity, or what is the modern today, with the cultural aspects. if I tap into your question, what is that inspirations that we get from the culture? I've done my own research and I've always grown up liking the culture of Rwanda, but mostly about the embellishment, what are the techniques that are in the Rwandan tradition, what does it mean to have different colors and motifs, and then I would say the inspiration ranges from motifs and the techniques because the ancient Rwanda was characterized by all that also in piece of clothing, jewelry, wickerwork, or different motifs and the techniques, what I'll call in Kinyarwanda, ububosi bwa Kinyarwanda, impuzankano, amabara n'imitako. So those are all the aspects that we root from to kind of inspire our clothing or our modern clothing. Because after the 19th century, out there, we started importing cotton. But before the 19th century, we were using the what I can call like the raw materials, or where we say impu za kinyarwanda cyangwa se abantu bakora impuzu mu buryo butandukanye, where you see like in different clothes made from cow leather or inyamaswa abantu bahigaga muri icyo gihe. So we try to fuse mostly where we get the inspiration now, and the rich inspiration where I would say most of people call imigongo, which is not really imigongo because imigongo is one of the art pieces that was made by the Rwandans, but mostly in the techniques where I call uruboshi or the wickerwork or the motif and design cyangwa ibyo bita amabara ya kinyarwanda. So just to give a highlight, that's where we get the inspiration from the motifs and designs, amabara ya kinyarwanda, which is a very huge range of colors or motifs, but we try to get inspiration there and then create our own or revamp or modernize and then fuse it with modernity where we get the cotton to use now or different fabrics like silk, linen, and other fabrics. So it's basically that fusion of the cultural aesthetics in artisans and craftsmanship and modernity with the clothing and the fabric.
Okay. So how did you learn this? Like, do you have an older artist that you learned this from when you were saying uboshi, all these techniques and styles? Is it something that you actually learned from someone else? How did you get access to this information or styles or techniques?
Yeah, very interesting. As I said, this is something that I grew up liking. I would say, especially from my family, like they were mostly using those techniques. I would say like the beadwork, the hand embroidery to decorate the houses where you see these amawara or motifs decorated in the house. So it was something I was much interested in, and at the early age. Then I kept pursuing it. I did my own research, see how some motifs were discovered by who, seeing different techniques of weaving and wickerwork, mobobosi, because most of the techniques were derivating from there. And then it's something I invested in myself just to learn and to have that perspective of it, and then learning from the elders, of course, keep digging. What was it? What was the meaning of this? Because it's really huge. It's a really huge package of things that we can learn from when we go to ububoshi, amabara ya kinyarwanda, motif, ahazamo imigongo, imyambaro ya kinyarwanda, babayambaraga kubera igihe runaka iyambarwaga n'aba ngaba, inshabure zambarwaga n'abakobwa, inkanda, abagore, imyeko, incunda, ubutega, a lot of things. So I get to learn from the elders, but also do my own research and, of course, seeing how I keep fusing all those aspects and techniques into what is the world now, what is the future of heritage. So I learned it from the family and from the elders.
No, I commend you for that, for finding that kind of information, for having the interest Because as you were speaking, I just was wondering, do we have like a Pantone with like different colors of like, of Rwanda? Because it would be nice to actually have those things,
Yes.
documented. So I like that, through your work,
Yes.
you actually are mindful of this, of continuing that and bringing that to a larger audience.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's something I would like to share. Appreciate this kind of series that help us to share with most of the people because there are different aspects of the culture, from the poetry to the clothing to the lifestyle of the ancient Rwanda. So I'm happy to just share a little of what I know about it and what becomes like the inspiration for my work. And of course, having these colors of Pantano for people to understand more, especially when you see everything with the motif you relate it to. Oh, this is Imigongo, and yet it's not just Imigongo. It's a lot. It's a lot of the motifs, what derived from there, why was it this used, and what is the meaning for it. So I'm always happy to share a little I know about it, and of course continuing to improve and level it up as well.
Yeah, thank you. So the second question I have is, why is it important for fashion designers to continue to honor, the rich history and culture that we have?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's very important that we use the Rwandan culture to celebrate the resilience and then sophisticated craftsmanship for that four generation, of course, that possessed, and then fashion designers should hold into that. We feel like it's our responsibility, whoever is in the creative industry, not only fashion designers, different creators, to use traditional aspects and then develop the creativity. So it is simply an integral part in preserving history and building a new heritage. We need to preserve that history, we need to preserve that tradition, and then build the new generation with their future heritage or with the new heritage that we are tapping into in the future.
Could you please share with us briefly, like your creative process? You recently had the Inhenyi collection. So how do you come up with something like that?
Yeah. How I come up with collections, like in Hindi collection, even all other collections, is that I always dig deep because whatever collection I'm going to present has to have the cultural roots in it, the cultural aesthetic. So as I said, it's huge. It's a vast package of things. And then I would say maybe like for me, I was referring to different motifs that were used and then find like one motif that I want to develop on my own so I can get inspired by there is several namings in Kinyarwanda of motifs. So the recent one was like Umuraza and Abash of the motifs in the traditional motifs, Umuraza and Abashi, then create my own motif that I call in Hindi. And then that was also the collection was basically celebrating the growth of motions and being able to establish a signature for our brand as derivating from those cultural motifs. Because we've been trying, and this is like the fifth year, to have that very remarkable to the audience, either Rwandans or the globe, the rest of the world, because what we basically do is just taking all those ideas and then celebrating or sharing it with the rest of the world. So it was more of a celebration for us to celebrate the signature that we were able to establish. You see something, you see a piece of clothing, you feel yourself in it because there is this tradition on it, either by embroidery, the beading, the artwork that is on it. But you see that you can see it in yourself wherever you are, like worldwide. So that was the whole idea. So my process of creating a collection is that I root from that culture and then associate it with the story. It can be either personal or an inspiration in the environment, in my environment, but you're going to always see that story coming fused with tradition. And then I keep it on the table, brainstorm with my team, and then we bring the collection to life.
Very inspiring, very inspiring. So what parting words would you have for young people? I mean, there's a question that was directly addressed to you, but we can go to it after we open the floor. But just to close this part, what advice do you have, for young people, either career-wise, fashion, talking about fashion, but even as a person, let's say, who's interested in using culture to make a statement? What advice do you have, for all of us?
Yeah, thank you. I think it will be board for all of us or different creatives in different sectors as well, either fashion designers, to just keep playing that role of, preserving the culture and then celebrating our culture. There is a lot, I would say there is really a lot in our culture that we can learn from and that can give us an inspiration to do what we want, to do what looks like the future for us in different aspects, in different careers of art. And then I just want everyone who loves the culture or who is willing to root from the culture to also do a huge research, talk to the elders or read books that we have so much content now that can teach us about the culture. Then get some useful content from it to bring it to whatever you are doing, but rooting from that. So that's a good way possible for this generation to use the culture and then create the modernity. Use the culture, create the future. Use the culture, create the future heritage. But then it has to root from the culture because we need to celebrate the culture. We need to celebrate the pride of Rwanda using those roots of the culture.
Thank you very much. Yeah. This was a pleasure, learning.
Thank you so much, Ishima, and everyone for having me.
Yeah, someone was asking how they can access your products in Australia.
Good.
Do you speak internationally?
Yeah, now it's easier.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's easier for like worldwide clientele. Whoever wants to access the product, we've recently launched our online platform that sells the products worldwide, so they can just check out Motion wherever it's Instagram, Twitter, or on our website. So there is a website where we sell the products. They are available whether you're in Australia or in any country. We ship worldwide. You just click and buy online, then you get your product to your door.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to open the floor for Q&A. Linda, you are welcome to co-lead this part with me. We already have a few questions that came in as we were speaking, but people who have more questions, you can write them in the comments, and then we're just going to pick and ask. Some of them were addressed to panelists directly, others are more general. So yeah, Linda, let's start this part. While we still have Moses here, someone asked Moses, hi Moses, my name is Vanessa Omugawikazi. I'm a self-managed model based in New Zealand and Melbourne, Australia. It's common for young people to be stigmatized when choosing a career pathway in creative arts, as it's seen as a hobby rather than a career. I'd like to ask, have you been stigmatized in this way? And how do you overcome these opinions? And what advice do you give to those looking to take the same career pathway as yourself?
That's a very interesting question. Thank you so much for that. And I think mostly career-wise and then this arts industry, we get a lot of, backfiring and everything, and then you get to be stigmatized about what you're doing. And some people do not take it seriously as a career. And either by the environment around us, either some parents or your colleagues or your friends who think you can just do the modeling for fun, or you don't see the career path in it. So I would say I've experienced that in the past because I was not very much supported at my beginning when I was starting my career as a fashion designer, because what is around us or the environment we live in was not very supportive of what can be done by a fashion designer or modeling industry or the fashion industry in general, because it can either be seen as just a hobby or something people do for other personal interest. But I would say, because I was very courageous and very determined to do so, I seek for skills that can shape me into an entrepreneur first, so that I can be able to compete with my career, and then seeing myself international, not just local. So trying to uplift my thinking and my passion and the love that I had for fashion, but then also making sure I am able to convince the environment around me that I can be an entrepreneur from my passion or what I think I love. So I seek for entrepreneurship skills, and then different skills that can make me being very competitive in my career. I would say for modeling and fashion designing and other art perspective, it's important to have also the skills, because it kind of require for us to all, like everyone, explanations of what we're doing. So you just seek for that confidence in you to be able to stand on your own and be able to be sure of what you're doing by the skills, by entrepreneurship skills, and then career wise, to be fully equipped by the skills that make you very competitive in it.
Thank you. Linda, you can go for the next one.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much. I'm learning so much already. And I think just because of time, we only have one other question that we can maybe go through. So someone asked, Patrick Goga asked, what would you like to see what would you like to see the diaspora do more of when it comes to traditional Rwandan arts? And what is your vision for these traditions in the future outside of Rwanda? If Hope can take that one, please.
Hope, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. What I would love to see personally is really to see more engagement with the diaspora, because you find that most times when it comes to culture, or we have more we are networking with foreign other people in the countries our diaspora people live in. So let's say, for example, when you take a performance, let's say Birmingham, you will see two Rwandans in the audience, and the whole organization is being done by people there. So wherever they are, I think there is no such a thing like distance anymore. We should be connected in spirit. We should be. They should now engage more in what is happening in our country, because it's from our country that we can bounce back and forth and be in understanding what's happening here. Because at the end of the day, home is home, and COVID has proved that physical barriers don't work anymore. So Rwanda, right now, I feel like we are in Australia, but I feel like you guys are just next door. So let distance not be separate us. Let distance be the very cause why we should be connected more into what is happening and inform ourselves what is going on in Rwanda. How can we reach out? How can you? There's different ways we can work together. So for me, I think reaching out and being open to networking, to engage, to fully engage in what is happening on the ground really will help us. Like if you go to US, for example, and we just put it out there on the social media, look out for us. Let's meet. Let's use that opportunity to make a Rwandan side something, like a workshop, like just a one meeting reception, and just even share Rwandan tea. We need to connect everywhere, and we stitch our dots together.
Yes, thank you so much. And because of time, I don't think we're going to be able to go through all the questions, but what we can do is maybe save all of them and then send them out to the panelists, and if they have time, they can answer them. So I wanted to say a huge thank you to you, Hope, Giramata, Omudei, Moses, and everyone who spoke today. We've learned so much. I've personally learned a lot of things, so thank you, thank you. A huge thank you to our MC Ishimge. You did that very, very well. You did amazing. And also His Excellency and the High Commissioner, the whole High Commission team. We've been also supported by the Ministry of Youth and Culture in Rwanda. Thank you for the whole team. A huge thank you to Minafet, especially Sandrine and her whole team over there, really supporting us and even bringing all of you panelists together and everyone. So basically, the full Amateka series program is now up on our Instagram. It's going to be up in a few seconds, but basically we would like for everyone to come and join us. For the next 3 months, we have specific topics that we're going to be looking at, and we're encouraging people to just, in their own time, to do their own research and even submit essays, submit a caption or two, anything. So we have that program opened, and we're not finished yet. So speaking of art and culture, so Ivan earlier mentioned that he's going to be performing, so his performance is about to start. So now you can party and stretch, as all of us have been sitting down for so long. So please get up and stretch and, dance as we go into the live concert. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everyone. I think this is now time for some fun. I hope as Yvonne is performing, people can dance and enjoy Rwandan music. It's a very special opportunity to actually have a live concert and have a big party, a big global party with people from across the globe. So I hope people can move and actually enjoy this moment. So I'd like to invite Yvonne Buravan.
Panelists, thank you. We hope that you've enjoyed Amateka series' incredible discussions. As we all know, Amateka means history, and music has always
been
an integral part
can
of our
have people
history
in the comments writing in one word, what is your key takeaway?
As we celebrate this launch and the connection
while we wait, Yvonne, as soon as you're ready, just come on. But in the meantime, you can have people write in the comments one key takeaway. It can be one word, it can be one sentence, it can be homework. So please share with us. Yes, go for it.
Meanwhile, they're coming back. There was someone who was asking a question about whether in the Rwandan traditions they used to,
as we all know,
good guy in their kind of setup, in their storytelling. And I just wanted to quickly answer this, that art is about life, and life is about two opposed sides, the negative and the positive, and they're always at loggerheads fighting. So in our Rwandan tradition, we were very smart in abstract art, that the negative side was, there's the word kuzimiza, it would hide it, but there was always that side of the negative, portraying the negative side of life. So yes, there was always the bad guy and the good guy in a different way.
Yeah, that's insightful. Eva and team, I don't know if you're ready. Come on board once you're ready. Hari ikibazo cyari cyabajijwe umubyeyi Clotilde, I'm just gonna say it, but Yvonne, feel free to come in. Cyari cyabajijwe na Giramata, arimo kubaza Madame Clotilde, amubaza ni gute twakuramo intera iri hagati y'abantu bakuru hamwe n'abantu bakiri batoya mu myumvire y'ukuntu bumva umuco. Ni gute twagerageza kubihuza kugira ngo abakuru batagira uko bumva umuco ukwabo ndetse n'abatoya baba bashaka guhindura ibintu. Ni gute twese twahurira hamwe? Madame Clotilde. Minafit, I think it's muted. I can see she's speaking, but we can't hear her. Okay, thank you.
ubundi zaterwaga n'uruhererekane rw'uburere ababyeyi bagenda bahereza abana babo bigakomeza bikahuranya ibihe byose. Ariko muri iki gihe hari ubundi bwoko bw'uburere, amashuri, igihe cyo kubonana n'ababyeyi n'abana ntigihari. Kandi mu mateka yacu hariho n'igihe zigeze guhagarara, bivuze ngo ababyeyi b'uyu munsi nta benshi ntibanabizi. Icyabifasha rero kugira ngo bihure bikomeze kuba uruhererekane ni ibi biganiro, ni ubwihate bw'ababyeyi bakumva akamaro kabyo bakabishakira umwanya nk'uko nabibabwiye, kugira ngo bagende bavugurura umuco bawujyanisha n'igihe ariko batanitaye. N'abana nabo bagashaka bagakundishwa kubyumva, gufata iby'ahandi gusa, kuko iby'ahandi iyo ubigendeyeho hari aho ugera bikagusiga kuko udafite umuzi wabyo. Abana bakabwirwa ko umuco ari wo shingiro ry'ibizakurikiraho byose. Iyo udafite umuco umera nk'umucanshuro, umuntu wese agukoza icyo ashaka kuko udafite ikintu ushingiraho. Umuco ni wo rangamuntu y'umunyarwanda, biturutse muri za ndangagaciro dutozwa zitwereka kumenya guhitamo, kumenya icyiza no kumenya ikizira. Iyo utabizi rero ugendera mu bije gusa, amaherezo ukabura iherezo. Ubwo burere buduhuza n'abana buturuka muri ibi biganiro dutanga, n'ibyo twatangiriyeho dusaba ko ababyeyi bajya bagira igihe cyo kuganira n'abana n'iyo cyaba gito, ariko ijambo riturutse ku rukundo rw'umubyeyi rirafata. Iyo ubimubwirana urukundo umwerekana akamaro kabyo. Abana b'uyu munsi iyo tuganira babikunze, ahubwo igihe kiba gito kubera ubuzima turimo uyu munsi. Ariko umuco wa kinyarwanda twumvisha udutegeka kudaheranwa n'ibihe, kuko uko ushoboye ikibazo cyose cyadutse kidasanzwe ukagishakira igisubizo ukurikije ubwenge bwawe bwite. Byagiye bigaragara mu ngero nyinshi z'abanyarwanda, uko haje ikintu kibangamiye igihugu kugishakira igisubizo biturutse muri bwa burere twahaye. N'uyu munsi rero biragaragara ko habayeho impamvu, habayeho ibihe byakuye umuco mu nzira kubera amateka ukoroni. Ariko uyu munsi ntabwo niyo yo kwishakaho igituma hataba igikata hagati y'ababyeyi n'abana, kugira ngo dukorane, kugira ngo ya matwara atanga irangamuntu ry'umunyarwanda amuha imigenzereze ituma azashyira imikorere y'ibiza mu buryo bufite umurongo, udategekwa n'ibihe ahubwo ari wowe ubitegeka. Ibyo rero bizava mu biganiro n'abana ndetse batari mu gihugu, ba diaspora nk'uko mwababwiraga. Hari igihe baje bazi nabo bakabiganirirwa bakagenda babikunze cyane. Ni ukuri ni imbaraga za leta n'izacu bwite ababyeyi n'iza minisiteri byakora uko bushoboye ntihabeho gutandukana kw'abana. Bigera igihe ababyeyi bananirwa kuko icyo gihe kigeze kubaho ababyeyi batakibasha gukurikira. Icyo gihe cyari ni ingaruka z'ubukoroni, ariko uyu munsi ari umubyeyi arabona akamaro, ari n'umwana, iyo abibwiwe arabikunda. Ni ubwihate rero no kubikomeraho cyane, nk'uko dushaka kugendana n'ibihe aho isi igeze, ariko tugende dufite abo turi bo, tugendane ubunyamwuga bujyana n'igihe, biturutse ku nyigisho, ku ngero, ku myifatire, bereka umurongo umunyarwanda akwiye kugendera ajyana n'igihe, ariko atataye kamere imuranga y'ubunyarwanda.
murakoze ku mpanuro z'umubyeyi ntacyo narenzaho, twahita noneho tujya kwa Ivan.
To all our distinguished panelists, thank you. We hope that you've enjoyed Amateka series' incredible discussions. As we all know, Amateka means history, and music has always been an integral part of our history and culture. As we celebrate this launch and the connection with Rwanda's rich history and culture, we are inviting one of Rwanda's finest soulful singers who has climbed the ladder of success at an incredible rate on the African continent. He is the first Rwandan musician to win the 2018 Prix Découverte RFI. He is a singer, songwriter, and a guitarist whose popular songs such as Si Belle you can't help but dance to. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Intare Conference Arena in Kigali, please join me in welcoming Ivan Buravan.
Misokoro umagufa sanze kugukunda bindimo gushidikanya shyira hasi hoya sinarota mwanga wumbamo ni wowe rukundo mfite hoya winsaba kongera kugukunda kuko nigeze ndakera nje ndacyagukunda kubihagarika biranze yuko kureka sinabishobora wowe gusa ntunge kure nsanze bindimo kubihagarika biranze yuko kureka sinashobora wowe gusa ntunge kure nsanze hoya kanjye kure bu iyo ubikoze bintera irungu nkagukumbura nibi ngibi by'ikirenga kubigabanya sinashobora ibi ngibi bikomeje nasara iyo abo wamenyaga intambara ndwanasho oya winsaba kongera kugukunda kuko nigeze ndakera ngenda cyagukunda kubihagarika biranze yuko kureka sinabishobora wowe gusa ntunge kure sanze bindimo kubihagarika biranze yo kureka sinabishobora wowe gusa ntunge kure sanze ngo hoya nta bushobozi mfite bwo kwikuraho ndi bindimo bindi mu misokoro utazi ko ngukunda ariko urabarusha bose dufite ibanga twisangije n'amateka yanjye nawe bububu hari ubwo bitari gushoboka cyangwa se inzira zigatandukanayo erega uri uwanjye oya ntawagusimbura ibyiza twabibanyemo ibi bitubinyuranamo njye nawe turakomeje na n'ubu turakomeje haza ibyiza haza ibibi njye nawe tuzakomeza ibyacu ufata umwomese yo nanjye sindekura pe yo ninjye nawe yo ninjye nawe yo ninjye nawe ups and downs zo zihoraho you turi mu rukundo it's normal ngukundira ko tuzicamo tugakomezanya nzemera ko hari icyari cyo cyose uba igihe turi kumwe my baby wenda nzitanga nkakubeshya sinaba udahari ukora uko bukeye umbera mushya bikantera gukomeza ubuzima ibyiza twabibayemo ibi bitubinyuranamo njye nawe turakomeje na n'ubu turakomeje yo haza ibyiza haza ibibi njye nawe ufata umwomeze yo sindekura pe wow ninjye nawe you ninjye nawe you ninjye nawe you ninjye nawe 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 haza ibyiza haza ibibi njye nawe tuzakomeza ibyacu ufata umwomese you nanjye sindekura pe wow ninjye nawe you ninjye nawe hey uyu ni Ivan Buravan and these are your boys we go nizere ko mwanezerewe cyane uru ni urukundo turi kwerekana uri bei rukundo ibyo urabizi 1 2 3 words for you I love you yeah nahera mu gitondo bukira namamaza yuko wowe unkunda yeah I'm so crazy in love with you crazy in love with you, babe. Oh yeah, this seems to be a simple song to listen to. Oh yeah, no, it's not just a song. But it is, this is love, yeah. Whoa, this is love, oh yeah, this is love, this is love. Love, woo, yeah, love. We go. nibyo sinjya negura amagambo nkubwira ndakureba gusa maze nkivugira menya bike mwasa nabyo kirezi nambaye mbizi ko kera I'm feeling so crazy in love with you. Yeah, crazy in love. Woo. This seems to be a simple song to listen to. Oh yeah, no, it's not just a song. Yeah, what it is? This is love. This is love. Yeah, this is love. Oh, yeah, yeah. This is love. This is love. Woo. Yeah. This is love. Yeah. This is love. Yeah. This is show us some love. You know, some love. This is love. This is love. This is love. This is love. Yeah. This is love. Yeah. Show us love. Yeah. This is love. Yeah. This is love. This is love. This is love. This is love. Yeah. Ooh. Hey, yeah. Ha. Ooh. Yeah, this is love. This is love. Yeah, this is love. This is love. This is love. Yeah, this is love. This is love. Yeah. Uru ni urukundo cyane. Amateka series, we are launching it today with a beautiful concert. Hamwe na concert nziza cyane gutya. Yeah. Are we together? I can hear you. Amen. Abandi turabafite. Ariko yo. Are we together? Are we together? Ndayibatuye cyane indirimbo yanjye. Simfite amagambo yabivuga uko mbitekereza uri inzozi zanjye za kumanywa ese mbyite paradizo singitandukanye umunsi nijoro kuko nibanira n'akazuba umunsi yanjye ihora ari Sunday cause of your love my baby nami nakupenda morning to night my desire my reason to live darling. I have a malaika, yeah. Mfitaka malaika, bivuga kenshi oya ntibishiraho iby'uko wantwaye umutima pe ese mbwira ujya ubikunda njye mba numva nakuririmba bugacya nyibuka imitoma yo mu nzozi zanjye uhoramo niyo ngize ngo mpange ni wowe unzamo wowe nakupenda morning to night my desire my reason to live darling I have a malaika 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 njefitaka malaika 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 you nzahorana nawe umutima wanjye urawufite baby you yeah good memories never die darling ooh yeah da 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 Malaika, 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 oh yeah, njemfitaka malaika, 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 you malaika, 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 yeah, 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 oh, oh, I'm malaika, malaika, njafita, malaika, njafita, malaika, malaika, yeah, malaika. Murakoze cyane. Yeah! Nyumva nugubizi iby'urukundo ngukunda reka mbikwibutse baju atutazabyibagirwa mu magana yose yabeza bose nawakuze imbere nyampinga urabahiga nakuvaho nkajya hehe you so beautiful I wanna grow old with you so beautiful I swear to God I will always esubona nagusika oya 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 ese mbwira ubona bishoboka njyewe oya oya mama nukuri sinabikorayo oya 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 nabigerageje sinabishoborayo oya oya mama oh oya 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 oh oya 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 oh oya 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 mbona ko you're all I need. So don't you walk away, kubera ko you mean the world to me. Oh, tuzarambana tuzasazana kuri njyewe ibyo ni hame. So ntugire ubwoba mami, yeah. You're so beautiful, I wanna grow old with you. You're so beautiful, I swear to God I will always esubona nagusiga, yeah yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yego ese mbwira ubona bishoboka, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah mama, nukuri sinabikora, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah mama, nanabigerageje sinabishobora, yo. Oh yeah, oh yeah ma, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, iyangira sha cyane. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, hey. Oh yeah, oh yeah mama, oh yeah, oh yeah ma, hey. Oh yeah, ndiyangiye, oh yeah. We go. Aye, 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 let go. Say, hey, hey. Okay. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, mama. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, mama. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, mama. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, mama. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 oh yeah. Yeah, go. Yeah, go. So, Loki, Loki. Oh, yeah. Hey. Umenipatia vyako, Loki nikakupa vyangu. Reka reka ntidushaka bivanga, kuko mabel ibanga mu kinyarwanda. ni rya babiri. T'inquiète pas, qu'on s'arrête pas. Baby, t'inquiète pas, qu'on s'arrête pas. Soyons sages, bébé, sois sûr que nous sommes low-key. Mapenzi yetu tamu, Eva na Adamu, njemba numva turi muri Edeni. Ba Eva mbe Adamu, ni wowe madamu. As I get in and I get out, low-key, low-key. Ooh, papa, mama, shout out. Low-key, low-key, low-key. Nje nawe tukundane. Low-key, low-key, low-key. We shall do our low-key, 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 wewe. Like Rocky Barabo, low-key, mama. Niba yabukumu karago. Cause low-key is key. Take your whiskey, leave them with their shitty fight. Now every day barco say now way, barco ivanga uwa ponwe, t'inquiète pas, qu'on s'arrête pas. Baby, t'inquiète pas, qu'on s'arrête pas. Soyons sages, bébé, sois sûr que nous sommes low-key. Mapenzi yetu tamu, Eva na Adamu, njemba numva turi muri Edeni. Ba Eva mbe Adamu, ni wowe madamu. As I get in and I get out, low-key, low-key. Ooh, papa, mama, shout out. Low-key, low-key, low-key. Nje nawe tukundane. Low-key, low-key, low-key. We shall do our thing. Low-key, 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 low-key. Like Rocky Barabo. Low-key, mama is key. Niba rabukumu karago. As I get in and I get out. Oh, papa, mama, shout out. Low-key, low-key, low-key. Nje nawe tukundane. Low-key, low-key, low-key. We shall do our thing. Low-key, low-key. Music. Yes. So, amen. Simple, beautiful, just like our culture. Umva mbabwira amakuru. Ngo bazanye ibishenzi ndabyanga cyane. Iby'imusozi nabyo ndazibukira cyane. Bibwiye ko ari Bwana Mukali. Oh, Bwana Mukali hawakujua kumbe na sisi wakali. Na sisi wakali. Turi minore turi mibihanganje. Niduhiganwa reka reka turabarusha. Yeah, turabarusha turabarusha cyane twabahaye integuza bagira ngo ntugushyenga tugabana abatabazi none ko tuje kandi tuje twivuga yeah. barajya he ko twaje yeah! barajya he kandi twaje cyane Yihi! Amen. Iyo mvuze bino bintu ndanezerwa kandi kubera ko nzi ko ntari intore njyenyine mfite izindi ntore zaciye ibintu turi kumwe niyo mpamvu nuba mfite confidence barajya he ko twaje
Hi, everyone. I hope that was fun. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I hope you also managed to stand and dance. It was a very good performance. Thank you very much, Yvonne. This was amazing. It was amazing to witness it, even though it's virtual, but it was still felt. I enjoyed it. So thank you very much. So once again, thanks to everyone. Thank you to the organizers of Amateka series. Thank you to Ambassador Jean de Dieu. Thank you to our speakers, Moses, Giramata, Mobie Clotilde, Hope Azeda. Thank you very much for everyone who shared their knowledge with us. It's been an enriching conversation. We hope to see you during our next one. As Linda said, everything is going to be posted online on their social media. So yeah, we're going to close the WebEx now, but thank you. I hope everybody had fun. Have a good rest of your day or rest of your night, depending on where you are. Bye.
Okay, thank you.